After their worst effort of the season on Saturday, the Blue Jackets bounced back last night with a big win over the Maple Leafs. We talk about that and what needs to happen going forward to keep this going on today's Locked on Blue Jackets.
You're Locked on Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked on Blue Jackets, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster, here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get things started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every single day. Locked on Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube. I also have to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. That game was a lot of fun. That is my main takeaway from last night's game. Obviously, we'll get into it a little bit more in just a second, but I don't know about you guys. I had a ton of fun watching that game. The depth scoring showed up, which it hasn't really done so far. The goaltending was good. Full team effort, and they bounced back from the loss on Saturday, which they were flat-footed, they were sluggish. Everyone said, "Oh, we weren't good enough. We need to be better." And guess what? They were better. So I want to talk about the importance of bouncing back after that win and what's different about the Blue Jackets this season than last. I want to talk about the depth scoring showing up. I want to talk about the new line combinations, which worked pretty well. And I want to talk about the coaching as well, because I think for the first time in maybe 4 seasons for the Blue Jackets, I have faith in the coaching. And so we're going to talk about that as well. But let's talk about what a fun win that was. It wasn't like dominant from top to bottom, but it was pretty darn close. Blue Jackets started things off strong, finished strong, had a little bit of a wobble in the middle there when they let Mathieu score, and then the Leafs scored the last goal of the game with about 7 minutes left in it, I think. Nick Robertson scored his first of the season. But beyond that, but it was a great game. Like, I'm looking at the score sheet now. I've got Natural Stat Trick open. I'm like, man, everything here was great. Actually, I have a couple of things that I want to talk about in a minute that were not bad, but things that I think need to be better. But hey, like, the depth scoring showed up. James Van Riemsdyk, goal. Justin Danforth, goal. Mathieu Olivier, 2 goals. Kevin LeBanc got an assist. Justin Danforth had an assist as well. Christensen keeps getting those quiet assists. Aston Reese got an assist. Like, the top line showed up as well. Monahan, Marchenko, both with a goal and an assist. Koselny with an assist. Zakharensky with a quiet 2-assist night. Really, everyone but that second line showed up, which I'm not frustrated is the wrong word, but I wanted to see a little bit more from that line. I thought individually the performances were very good, and like they had good underlying stats as well. I'm just pulling up the 5-on-5 numbers. They had the lowest underlying stats. They only managed to get about a 50% in Corsi 4 percentage. They were out Fenwick, which Fenwick is just if you take blocked shots out of Corsi, you get Fenwick. So it's shots on goal plus shots that miss the net. It doesn't count blocked shots. So they got outchanced there. They got outshot by 1. There was 3 shots for while they were on the ice and 4 against. This is all at 5-on-5, by the way. But for the most part, I thought that line was fine. It needs some time to gel, but I thought individually they had good performances. I thought Chinikov unlucky not to score at least 1 goal. Frankly, I think that they looked at it for a long time just to make sure, and it didn't go in. But Chinikov, I think, still had a pretty good night. Fantilli, again, another pretty good night. All things considered. Would have loved to see the special teams get going, or specifically the power play, because the penalty kill was, I believe, perfect. Yep, they went 0 for 3 on the power play did the Leafs. Blue Jackets also went 0 for 4 on their power play. So, like, that's something they want to work on, obviously. But the fact that the penalty kill is not leaking goals is always a good thing, especially when you have a power play unit like the Leafs. And I know that they haven't been, like, super successful in the with the extra man. In again, the very early goings in this season. I'm just pulling up what the Leafs power play percentage is after that game. They are sitting at 13% on the power play, which is 26th in the league. Blue Jackets sitting at 22nd with 16.7%. So a really, really great night for everyone except the power play. But the Leafs have one of the better penalty kills in the league. Mitch Marner, I think, is one of the best penalty killers in the league, which always surprises me when I think about it too much. But 5-on-5, I thought the Blue Jackets were really very good indeed. They outworked the Leafs, outshot them 38-28, and at all situations, they had 71 shot attempts to the Leafs 58. So, like, just a really, really solid, great performance. Again, goaltending, I thought was excellent. Again, that's 2 back-to-back good starts for Tarasov. 26 saves on 28 shots. I don't know that his individual save percentage has gone above 900 yet, but again, back-to-back saves are convincing. He's still on an 888 at the minute. He's 3-1 on the season. He should probably be the goalie going forward. The Blue Jackets have some time off now. They don't play again until Saturday, where they play the Nashville Predators, who are struggling. They finally got their first win last night against the Bruins, shutting them out because, of course, they did after going like 0-5 to start the season. But honestly, like, you ride the hot hand at this point. I think I would like to see Tarasov start in that game as well. And again, we'll see where we go from there. If he struggles, you've got Elvis to put in. If he doesn't struggle, great, keep going. You know. But overall, like I said, I thought it was a really strong team game. Lots of good individual performances. I think the only players that were on the wrong side of the stat sheet, let's say, the Jiricek and Johnson pairing struggled a little bit, which I am unsurprised by that, just because I don't think that they have skill sets that are suited to each other. I thought David Jiricek's individual game was quite good, not where I really needed to be, but he played a lot of time with Jack Johnson, and I don't know if those two guys are the guys that you want on the ice at the same time. David Jiricek is not the most fleet of foot skater out there. He tries. He doesn't always succeed, and Jack Johnson just kind of skates around like a Buick. I've said it on this podcast before. They did not get a ton of ice time either, which was frustrating, I think, especially when you consider what a good job Jiricek had in the game against the Wild, where he was one of the better defenders, I thought. He still got 12:24 of ice time, which was the lowest by almost 3.5 minutes. Jack Johnson got over 16 minutes of ice time, despite not doing very much with it. We're going to talk about coaching in a minute, but this is really the only real quibble that I have with the coaching is this weird attachment to Jack Johnson that they have. And I don't know whether it's just that it's like the veteran blinders that he has on, or whether they're seeing something that I'm not, but would love to see a little bit less Johnson and a little bit more literally anyone else with Jiricek. This is not to say that I think Johnson did a bad job last night. I just don't know that those two players are particularly suited to playing with each other. That being said, that's what I said about Werenski and Provorov. Look at how well they've turned out. I think Werenski specifically has been a man on a mission to start this season. He, again, really strong last night, was on the ice for 38 shot attempts, 4 which was over half of the shot attempts that the Blue Jackets took were while Werenski was on the ice, which is fun and neat, and I liked it. Monahan was in second place with 31, and then Cole Sillinger actually in third place with 30. Again, this is all strength, all situations. If you go to 5-on-5, again, Werenski leading the way, 29 shot attempts at even strength, 19 against. So just a real, like, vintage Werenski. He's really coming into it. I say really coming into his own. This is kind of what I expected from Werenski. I think he had a good season last season, but it could have been better. And I think he's really taken a step forward, and he's really leading this team. He's leading by action. He's leading by doing. And that's really, really fun to see, because I don't know that we've seen a Zach Werenski this dominant since like pre the shoulder injury, which was a couple of seasons ago now. But like pre that, it looks like we're finally getting the Werenski back that we got, a few years ago now, which you absolutely love to see it. I'm gonna take a quick break. I want to talk about a little bit more of the things I liked about this game, because I really do want to touch on the depth scoring, and I want to talk a little bit about the line combinations as well. So we'll do that in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I'm going to tell you about FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. They are America's #1 sportsbook, and they're also our #1 sportsbook here at the Locked On Podcast Network. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, you can view live play-by-play, and so much more on the very same page where you place your bets. This is great for fantasy hockey, personally speaking. I love to not have 17 different ESPN tabs open or have to rely on NHL.com to tell me what's going on. You can do all of it at FanDuel, and you can make a little bit of money while you're doing it. Here's the best bit. If you place your first $5 bet, FanDuel is going to give you $200 in bonus bets guaranteed, whether you win or lose. Just go in, bet on literally whatever you want. It can be the heaviest favorite. It can be the most outlandish, like Zach Aston-Reese scores a hat trick, or Daniil Tarasov scores a hat trick. Like, you can put money on all of these things at FanDuel. As long as you put $5 on, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Once again, that's FanDuel.com. I just have to let you know about Game Time, because I don't know about you, but I love going to live events, and I love to not pay $1 million for it. My wife and I, we love to go to Sharks games. Quite often we will go to last-minute Sharks games. We will not plan this. We will just finish work. The Sharks will be playing, and we'll be like, hey, let's see if we can get a good deal on Game Time. And the chances are we can get a good deal on Game Time. And it's not just sports either. They've got music, they've got theater, they've got comedy. Like, whatever you need a ticket to get into, chances are you can find it on Game Time. The app is so easy to use. It's super great. I like it so much better than basically any other ticketing service that is out there. I love the all-in pricing. You can toggle that on, and what that does is it shows you the fees up front. So there's no surprise checkout fees. You do have to turn it on, but it is such a game changer. You get panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. You've got the lowest price guarantee, where if you find tickets in your section and row for less, Guaranteed will credit you 110% of the difference, and they've got the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. We're talking about all of the things that we liked about this game, and there are a lot of them, so I'm going to keep going with it. I was really surprised that the bottom six was so good in this game. Not that the top six was bad. Obviously, Marchenko and Monahan, goal and an assist each. Cole Sillinger had an assist, but it was mostly the bottom six. So the Van Riemsdyk, Olivier, Aston-Reese, Labanc, and Danforth all recorded points. The only guy in the bottom six not to record a point was Sean Corrali, but he didn't get a ton of ice time. I'm wondering if Sean Corrali is kind of on the outs with the coaching staff. Zach Aston-Reese also didn't get a time. Neither did Kevin Labanc, but Aston-Reese and Labanc both managed to get an assist anyway, I believe, on James Van Riemsdyk's goal for Labanc, and then Aston-Reese assisted on Olivier's second of the night, which, what a night for Mathieu Olivier, by the way. 3 goals on the season already. He might be having a career year already. I'm just pulling up his career stats, because do I think that 3 goals is his career high? No, but I would love to know what that is, and see how close he is to to beating that. So his career high in goals is 5. He had 5 goals last year through 54 games, and he had 5 goals as well the year before that for 66 games. 15 points in that year, 12 points last year. So his career high in points is 15. He's already got 6 games in. Do I think that this is sustainable? No. However, am I having a great time watching him do his thing? Absolutely, yes. Had a big goal in Buffalo, which I believe he scored 3 of his 4 preseason goals in Buffalo as well. So maybe Olivier should just play Buffalo more often. But 2 goals tonight, including, I believe, the game winner as well. So just you don't get a lot of nights like this from a guy like Mathieu Olivier, and I'm really glad that the Blue Jackets managed to not waste that in the way that sometimes a goalie has a really good game and then the team just doesn't show up for it and it gets wasted, or a forward has a game and the defense can't keep it together enough to not lose by 1 goal. We saw that a lot last season, which I want to talk about the difference between this season and last season in a minute. But Olivier, by all accounts, really, really great guy. Great in the room. Great with the fans. Great energy guy. You love to see him get rewarded like this because it doesn't happen a lot. That was his first 2-goal game of his career. He's played 174 games. So obviously he's not the most offensive guy going in terms of goal scoring, but as of right now, just keep on going. Do what you're gonna do, Olivier. Because if it means that we get more games like we got from him last night, I am all for that. I want to talk a little bit about how this feels different to last year, and I'll tell you why I'm doing this. Because last year, the Blue Jackets had a game against the Toronto Maple Leafs where I'm just gonna pull up the hockey reference page for it to make sure I'm getting it right. Last year, the Blue Jackets had a game where they managed to go up 5-0 on the Maple Leafs, and then they ended up going to overtime with that as well, which was stressful to watch. I'll tell you that for free. I believe they went and I think they won that game. But I am just pulling it up to double check. Yes, it was during that stretch of time where the Blue Jackets just could not hold a lead, regardless of what that lead was. So the Blue Jackets went up 2-0 in the first period. They were 5-0 by the end of the second period, and then in the third period, a goal 38 seconds in, a goal 3 minutes 49, 14:21, 18:45, and then 19:15. Going to overtime after being up 5-0 is just such a Blue Jackets game of last season, and they didn't do that this season. The Leafs made it 5-1, I think, near the end of the first period. With just over a minute left in the second period, excuse me. Mathieu nice scores to make it 5-1. And I didn't quite have PTSD war flashbacks, but I did think, oh God, what if the same thing happened? What if the same thing happens? What if they collapse again? And they didn't do it. Did the Blue Jackets win that game last year anyway? Yes. However, they should have won it in regulation. They should not have ended up going to overtime in a game that you are leading 5-0. And this time, they didn't do that. They added an extra goal that they allowed 2 goals on 28 shots, which I'm fine with. Did they benefit from the Leafs icing a fairly green goaltender in Dennis Hilderby, who I liked a lot in the AHL last year? He struggled tonight. Did they benefit from that? Sure. Am I going to complain about that? Absolutely not. This team dug in the third period. They kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit. Shots in the first period were 15 for the Blue Jackets, 6 for Toronto, 14-13 to Blue Jackets in the second, and then it was even 9-9 in the third period. So they slowed down as the game went on, but what they didn't do was they didn't let Toronto get back into the game. They slowed down a little bit in terms of pouring the shots on and pouring the shot attempts on, but they didn't let the Maple Leafs take control of the third period, and that to me is what feels different about this team than last team. This last season, this game probably ends, if not the way that it did last season, it probably ends, 5-3 or 5-4, and the Blue Jackets have to cling on with everything they have, and they are fighting to the very last second, trying not to allow the Maple Leafs to force overtime with the goalie pulled. This season, they settled down a little bit, but they still kept going, and they got rewarded with it. I think, again, I talked about this at the start. I think this was the best game that the Blue Jackets have played this season. Again, they're 6 games in. It's a small sample size, but for the third time this season, the Blue Jackets have scored 6 goals in a game, where their goal differential right now is shocking, quite frankly. It's not like huge, but when you look at where they were this time last year, which I'm just gonna do now. Oh, I can't do that, unfortunately. The Blue Jackets are currently, they've got 24 goals scored and 20 against. Is that number a little high? Yes. However, I'm not gonna complain about the offense that we're getting from these Blue Jackets. I think they do need to tighten up a little bit defensively. Not defensively, I think the goaltending needs to tighten up, but it looks like they are on their way to doing that. Tarasov looks like he's getting more comfortable every game, which again is why I would play him on Saturday against Nashville. Do they want to get Elvis back in the lineup? Maybe, but if I'm the Blue Jackets, I am going with the hot hand because I don't think they can afford not to right now. Let's take another quick break, and then I want to talk about why I have faith in the coaching this season, because it's not something I expected when the season started, and I looked at the lines, I looked at what was happening, but I'm changing my mind on Dean Evason because he has proved to me that he maybe does actually know what he's talking about. Shocker. But we'll talk about that in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I've got to tell you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just have to pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. It's the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Places where regular sports gambling is not available. You can do a little bit of that on Prize Picks, but it's not gambling. It's fantasy. It's fantasy with money added, which I personally think is way more fun. They've got communities that you can do that with, so you can do make a group. You can do it with your friends. You can literally put your money where your mouth is, and it puts its members first. So all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. So when my picks hit, I get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. There's no waiting around for your money to deposit. Sign up today, and you're going to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed, which I love. And they have weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday, which each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player protections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineup. It is the best way to win real money this season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Once again, that is code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. We're going to finish up today's episode with, I want to talk about Dean Evason, who I was, again, let's say cautiously optimistic for. I think it was important that they needed a experienced coach, no more first-time coaches. We've tried that, it didn't work. I do still think that there are coaches out there that might be better coaches, but are they better for this team? Maybe not. I have been, let's say, critical, I think, of some of Everson's coaching choices. I still think, like we've talked about the Jack Johnson of it all. I don't know why he's in the lineup. I don't know why he continues to be in the lineup. Hopefully that does not continue for much longer, but I suspect that it will. But for the most part, I have liked what Dean Evason brings to this coaching staff. He's not afraid to change things up. Like we looked at breaking up the Chinikov, Monahan, Marchenko line. They did that. The team still functioned. It didn't completely fall apart. That second line, there's still something missing there, but give them a couple of games, see what happens. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But also sometimes you can tweak things to make it a little better, and I think that's what he did with that lineup change. I think he's done wonders with the defense. I think that's probably a combination of like him and also his coaching staff. But the Blue Jackets look night and day from last season, and I've said this a ton of times to start the season off. But like they look like a team that has like played defense together before, which they didn't look like last season. It felt like it was a lot of individuals playing defense on their own, and they didn't. The right hand didn't know what the left hand was doing. Both hands are on the same page for the Blue Jackets right now, and I think Dean Evason is at least partially to. I was going to say to blame for that. If there's no blame, it's partially his coaching staff, right? His coaching staff, his systems. The team looks like a different team, and partially that's because of different personnel. But I do think that Dean Evason has kind of put his stamp on this team. He says a lot of the right things as well. We talked about how great it was to hear him say, "Yeah, we weren't very good last game. We'll be better next game," as opposed to what would happen last year, which was, "Yeah, well, we tried real hard and it just didn't go our way. We'll try harder next time." Those two statements are very similar, but I think crucially different, which is acknowledging that you weren't very good and saying you'll be better is different than saying that you could have been better and maybe you will be next time. I like a lot of what Dean Evason says. I like what he's done. I think it's really interesting to see him come in and not know anyone and not take a look at, a lot of what happened last season and not be like, right, okay, well, these guys played with these guys a ton and that was good. Or these guys played with these guys a ton and that was bad. Or this guy spent a bunch of time on the penalty kill. Or this guy spent a bunch of time on the power play. Like, the power play is kind of shaky at the minute, but that's because, like, they're missing, arguably four of their top unit power play guys from last season. And, to start this season, you're missing Jenner, Voronkov, Johnson, like those three guys are going to be in on the power play. So you got guys playing up a level. You got guys playing on the power play that wouldn't be playing on the power play. So power play needs some work, but makes sense based on the personnel that they have right now. Penalty kill, I have been really impressed. That might be what I'm the most impressed with, actually, is the penalty kill. You look at guys like Cole Selinger who are thriving on the penalty kill. Before he got hurt, Ken Johnson was doing excellently on the penalty kill. Adam Fantilli has been getting penalty kill minutes and has been doing pretty okay in them. I'm just pulling up his penalty kill numbers right now. Okay, he didn't play on the penalty kill in this game, but typically speaking, he's been getting a lot of penalty kill time, which is always fun. The penalty kill I thought was great in this game specifically, but overall I've been really, really impressed with it. And I think that's another Evason thing of he's come in and he's been like, right, well, I don't really care who was killing penalties last season. Let's see who wants to kill penalties this season. Put a bunch of guys on there and it works. Again, I still think that I maybe wouldn't play Ivan Provorov and Jack Johnson on the penalty kill quite as much as they do. But Ivan Provorov was on the ice for 3 shot attempts, 4 and 6 against on the penalty kill specifically. Getting 3 shot attempts shot attempts on the penalty kill is frankly pretty impressive. But I'm looking at the guys that are getting penalty kill time, and something else that's really interesting. Mikhail Pucha is getting penalty kill time, and he got over 2 minutes, or almost 2 minutes, of penalty kill time. He was only on the ice for 3 shot attempts against. Something else that is interesting, actually, while I'm just looking at these numbers, Werenski is barely killing penalties. Sean Kuraly is not killing penalties at all, which that surprised me. He got 0 minutes and 0 seconds of penalty kill time. So, which I think, again, leads to the Evason thing of it, which he's come in with basically a blank book, and he said, right, well, who wants to do this? Who wants to do that? And he's kind of given it to that instead of being like, well, this guy killed penalties last year, so let's throw him out there and see what happens. And it's really refreshing and really fun to watch. So hopefully that kind of stuff continues. I am not an apologist. I would like to formally apologize to Dean Evason for the criticism that I threw at him to begin the season. So far, he is exceeding my expectations. We'll see what happens when they start getting guys healthy again. I think Jenner's out long term. Gobranson's going to be out long term, but like Voronkov should be back maybe in the next month or so. Hopefully Kent Johnson's back in the next month or so. I believe Gavin Brindley is, I think, 3 weeks into his 4 to 6 week timeline. So we could be seeing Gavin Brindley sometime soon. Whether he stays with the Blue Jackets or whether he goes down to the Monsters, we'll find out. But frankly, I would throw him in the NHL roster. Like, why not at this point? You guys need top 9 forwards. Because at the minute we are kind of rolling several fourth liners on the third and second lines, kind of. So why not throw Brindley in there just to see what happens? Hopefully this kind of thing continues, because thus far I've been really impressed with Dean Evason for, like, again, probably 90% of his decisions. There are a couple of decisions I still don't really get, but I've been impressed with 90% of him so far this season. And frankly, maybe the bar is low in Columbus after the Pascal Vincent experiment last year, the Brad Larson experiment the seasons before that. Like, this feels like Tortorella hockey, but slightly different. And I'm having a lot of fun watching this team. Hopefully you guys are having a lot of fun watching this team as well. That's kind of what I've got for today. Tomorrow, what we're going to do is, I think we'll take a look at the Blue Jackets' first, 3 weeks of the season, first 6 games. We'll look at what's been good, what's been bad, what needs to improve, like surprises, anything like that. We'll take a look at kind of this first little chunk of the season and see how it's going, because the Blue Jackets don't play until Saturday now. So we'll dig into what's going on thus far this season. I've been Jay Foster. You can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTER. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets. If you have comments, questions, criticisms, you can email me at lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. You can find the show wherever you get podcasts. You can find us on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster. I think I've definitely already said that. I'm doing great here. I've lost control of this outro, so I'm just going to finish off. Once again, tomorrow we are going to talk about the first little chunk of the season and how that's going. So until then, make sure you stay locked on.